Good day, everyone, and welcome to Car Stereo Talk Saturday. I'm Dean. This is Fernando, just in case you didn't know that. I believe there are people that don't know that. I often get, because we always say Fernando in the show, but we never say my name, which is kind of by design.
So what are you saying that I should say?
No, God, no.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the show. My name is Fernando, and this is Dean.
No, just doesn't sound right.
No?
Okay. I'm fine with it.
Hi, my name is Dean.
I don't think they'll buy into that.
Why?
I don't.
You don't think I have Dean's face?
There's got to be at least one. There's got to be. First.
Second.
Oh, like the Hulk.
Who's in third?
Hola. Happy Saturday, everyone.
¿Qué pasa?
Have always. Oh, pizza. Yeah, it's definitely pizza.
We ate pizza yesterday.
You did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I had we had pizza when we got back. I haven't had pizza since.
We ate pizza and we watched the One Piece.
Yeah, we didn't eat pizza. We had
that was good.
Asian food. Thai food
is good. Thai food is good.
Good afternoon from the Twin Cities, balmy Twin Cities. A lovely 77 degrees. 8 inches of snow from last weekend is gone. I would hope so at 77. That would be pretty amazing if that just means it's like wet and ugh. Good afternoon from Seattle. Good afternoon, Ken, Brad. Ken.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I was looking at this and just like, yeah. Good afternoon, Brad. Hope you're having a fantastic day. What's up, chat?
What's up?
What's haps? Always more bass, never enough bass.
Always enough bass.
Always more bass.
Always more bass.
Always more bass. Yeah. It's never enough bass. Right. I feel there is enough bass. I just, as I get older, it's just never enough, period. I don't think it's like all of it. So,
okay.
But yeah, anyways, good morning from Sydney, Australia. What's up, man? Evening, gents. Evening.
Good evening.
Hola, everyone.
What up?
Aloha. Hola. Hi.
Hola.
We'll just go with what's up, everybody.
Hola.
Swizzle Sticks is there somewhere. Right here we go. All right. I don't know what I just did. Dean is nah. No, for sure. It's just just doesn't work. Howdy, Jason. Yeah. Hi. My name is Mad. Yeah. Yeah. Dean is always mad. It's just always angry. Hi, my name is Curtis.
Hi,
Curtis Blow. What's up? Pizza. I love Costco pizza, cheese pizza. Costco pizza is pretty spectacular.
So why is always cheese pizza?
It's simple. Everybody likes cheese pizza.
Okay.
It's just what it is. It's simple. It's easy. Oh, look at that. Lovely. 104 in Phoenix. I don't doubt that. It was hot this week.
That is just crazy.
Yeah. How many pieces of original recipe KFC does everyone eat if getting it for dinner? I usually do around
4.
Ooh, you do 4? I do 2. I'm a 2. But see, I like a wing and a breast. Although if I could have 3 wings, I would be fine.
I probably do 2 though. Yes.
Yeah. I
maybe.
I like the wings.
I think 1 is.
Yeah. 1 is not enough.
No?
No. And I'm not a big breast guy. Like for chicken.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like
2. I think 2 is good.
2 is good. I've been seeing videos for a replacement screen for an F-150 car ABC 12-inch. Anyone seen it?
I haven't seen that.
No, but
I know it's
replacements. It'll probably there's a lot of them out there.
A lot of replacements now.
And they're all just like, it's Android. It's gonna maybe work. It's gonna maybe not work. And they're not cheap anymore. That's the thing, is that you're just hoping they work and they're not cheap. It's very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to work on a Chrysler Pacifica minivan this week? Actually, we did work on one this week. It was the same one we put the radio in a couple weeks back. We put a backup camera in it. So we're like, it's nothing to talk about other than we put a backup camera in it. But yeah, we did. It was totally thrillless. But can you bridge a Kenwood stereo output? The radio? No, you cannot. That would be bad. Hey guys from Kentucky, cheese pizza for Lent. Okay, I mean whatever works for you. So 3-piece dark meat, says Brad.
I like that. See?
So two legs and a thigh, or 2 thighs and a leg.
Yeah.
So at Jollibee's, all they have is dark meat.
Uh-huh.
So you just get what you get. You like it. The only choice you have is whether you want spicy or regular. So
I always pick spicy. You have to.
No, you don't. You actually don't. You know.
Totally.
You just kind of.
It's like
sometimes you feel like a nut, and sometimes you don't.
Spicy all the way.
So actually, it's funny. No, you can't bridge the outputs, but you can network mode, so you can get bandpass crossovers for the front stage. Yes, you can do that. Now, there is a radio where you can actually bridge the rear channels. At least you used to be able to. Pioneer used to allow you to bridge the rear channels, both 3 and 4, off to a 4-ohm subwoofer. You used to be able to do that. I don't know if the current lineup from Pioneer does that. I would suspect not, being how cheap as they are. But yes, you used to be able to do that. LOL, not for chicken. So Dean, I'm mad also, by the way. It happens. Let it go, man. Let it go. Prices on headphones, just saying.
Prices on headphones?
She knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Melissa, what is happening? Better missed you at MasterTech. Should have been there. Oh, look, it's Mary Lou. I know, right? What are you doing next weekend, Mary Lou? Feel like being on the show? I'm with Brad on KFC. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Can you upload that video when you guys worked on the Chrysler Pacifica video? And can you upload that today? No, we didn't actually film a video. So, hi, Mary Lou.
We haven't.
But
as soon as we have one, believe
me, just don't happen. C5 Corvette. Want to do a single DIN to simply install, but want a small screen with Android Auto and to not block AC controls. MPP Play from ZZ2, best option. Will it fit? So I that's the one with the weird rounded corners. I don't know if it's going to fit because it's got the weird rounded corners and the dash kit isn't like set up for that. However, there is another radio that you might be able to find, which if you reach out to Ada at Absolute Electronics in Rockville, Maryland, he had a single DIN Android Auto CarPlay radio that looked like it might show promise. So I would reach out to him and see if they still have that. It was something he was looking to distribute, so he may still have them. But yeah, give him a call. And that was a normal chassis singleton radio. So there is that. So that might be a better option. Question: what speakers would you guys choose? Audison Voce, AX Mark IIs, or Hertz 6.6 3-ways, 3-way Pro? I mean, are we going from a 2-way to a 3-way here? We're just talking about the mid bass. I mean, I feel like we can't go a 2-way to a 3-way, so I don't know. Listen, if you're saying, do I go with a 2-way Voce or a 3-way Hertz? Just go with the 3-way Hertz. It's gonna be better. If you're saying, do I go with a 3-way Voce or a 3-way Hertz, then it's a question of what you're doing. They're two totally different goals as far as speaker goes. Your Hertz is more of your party rock star, in your face, whereas your Voce Audison is a little bit more cool, subdued, mellow, equally as loud, just two different. The word I love to hate is tonality. So, party, smooth jazz. Personally, in my world, I'd probably end up with the Audisons just on principle, knowing in the back of my head I probably should have gone with the Hertz because I want to rip shit up. So that's where it just sometimes hurts. You know what I mean? I'm checking. Okay, thank you. Head units already have bridged outputs. You can't bridge twice. There you go. So from Brad himself, that would make sense. Hey, Dean. We're not a Kicker dealer, but my son has Kicker dual 12s, L7Ss. The box is rattling, so I had to screw the wood together, but it's not perfect. Got anyone I can contact? Anyone at technical support. I don't know any of the new tech support guys, but it's basically customer service / tech support there that will answer your question as far as like if you need an RA or if you have a problem with it or anything like that. I would definitely give them a call, and they should be able to handle that because they're pretty flexible when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I would just try that first. If you need tier 2 support, like you're not getting anywhere with it, then maybe I could have somebody walk over to there, but I don't know anybody in that department. So, but yeah, that should not happen. It's on my to-do list. All good. All right, where are we at here? Okay. If you guys have questions, this is a great time to get the questions in. We've just kind of blown into this without stopping for a minute to do what we normally do, which is this guy right here. Oop, not that guy, this guy. This first segment is and was brought to you by the good folks at Arc Audio. It is full on spring. The first day of spring is here, which means for some of you, it is almost, if not, motorcycle weather is here. If you live here, it's always motorcycle weather, but up somewhere the snow is melting and life is getting back to normal. It's time to get those motorcycles out. And if you've got a crappy stereo on it, you might want to check out the full line of what Arc Audio has to offer. From wiring harnesses, mounting plates, to amplifiers that fit perfectly up in the shroud, and just speakers that sound amazing. Check them out at arcaudio.com or a local dealer near you. I have front speakers at lower volume. There's no sound from it at all, but when you turn the volume above 24, you will hear sound come from it. Any thoughts? All right, so if I'm reading this correctly, there is a certain situation where, let's say, there's a couple things. One would be if there's actually no sound coming from it at all, you turn the volume up, and there's no sound, and you keep turning it up, and then all of a sudden the speaker's like, come on, and they make sound. That is a phenomenon called a bad voice coil. And what is happening is usually there's a burnt spot somewhere or a spot that is no good, or the speaker somehow has come out of the gap. The gap is where the magnetism happens and it causes the voice coil to move. If you put enough power there, it's the voice coil is off enough, but it increases that magnetism so much that it catches the voice coil and the speaker will start to play. It's not going to sound good, but it will start to play. So at that point, you realize you do have a blown speaker. Now, there's another situation where there is a bad voice coil and the ohm load is no longer right because maybe it burnt and then attached somewhere else. So the impedance has changed and you can turn the volume up and it just stays quiet until you put a lot of volume on and then you start to get some sound from it. But that will generally always be a quiet, whereas the other one will sound perfectly fine as far as volume goes. It just needs a lot of volume to kickstart it. And then it will usually play if you turn the volume down some, as long as the music is constant. But if you get a pause, the speaker will stop because you've lost it, go back to its resting point, and you'll lose the sound. The other option, of course, is that there's a bad amplifier, that the amplifier is not functioning properly. And as you turn the volume up, maybe there's a crack or a chip or a split or a cold solder joint or something like that. If you put enough energy to the point, it makes contact and it will play. Either way, there's definitely something bad there, and I would check it out. Now, if you just have a speaker that you're like, I'm turning it up and I can't hear it, but it's still making sound and it's low in the door, you may have another speaker in parallel with it that is much louder and it's drowning that speaker out. That's also an option, but I doubt that's the one you're talking about. So there is that. You know what I mean? Buenos tardes.
Buenas tardes.
How are you?
We good? How are you?
Yeah. Question.
Yes.
Can a Helix DSP literally compensate for everything a new car factory system does, making an amp pro unnecessary? What can't it compensate for? No, it cannot compensate for everything that a factory system throws at it. It does have a lot of options, and most of those options are also in equally expensive DSPs, such as the Arc Audio, such as the Helix, such as the Audison. They all basically have the same toolkit to throw at a problem. You can compensate for all pass filters. You can do de-equalization. There are things that they can't do that an amp pro can do. So, for example, An Amp Pro is designed to plug into the data stream of the car and give you a 5-volt, 20 to 20, if not more, output, sometimes even a Toslink output. It has no equalization, it has no ANC, it has no fake noise of any kind. It isn't going to do anything stupid. Okay, so you have a clean signal. Think of it as a white piece of paper that you're getting ready to draw something on. Whereas when you take one of these DSPs, you're going high level. So you're coming after the amplifier or after the source, and now you have to fix everything. Well, fixing everything means you have to take the dirt that is on the page and try to clean it off. You will never have a clean sheet of paper. You will always have a recycled piece of paper. So if you have all pass filters in the signal, which is phase on one side of the car at a specific frequency is inverted, okay, you're not removing that. All you're doing is figuring out what it is and you're matching it to the other side. So it's still there. It's just now you have two signals. So it's not like it's perfect. It's just fixed. If you have engine noise, no DSP on the planet can do anything about engine noise. If you have a chime that is obnoxious, as long as it's a single tone chime, you can use a notch filter from all of the DSPs in order to bring that down, or a single band with a very narrow Q. So you can do that as well. De-equalization is nothing fantastic, but keep in mind, if you have a high-pass crossover from the radio and your bass is rolling off at 80 hertz, you're hoping that your 12 dBs of swing are going to bring that up. So you're having to bring up all of this. So you're pushing the signal. So you're going to add noise that's not supposed to be there. So can you DEQ a system and get it to do a lot of things with all of these really Yes, of course. You do it with a key lock better than most of these things can do it. But you're still not having a clean, crisp sound. And if you were to fix this system and get it the best that you could, and then you just fed in a Bluetooth, high-res Bluetooth streamer into it, you'd immediately hear the difference. You'd be like, oh, no, that still sucks. That sounds great. So, no, and there again, and they all have it. Helix is not special. So, and it still can't fix the things that we need it to fix. The best option, and I feel in my mind, the future is going to be the small little controller that you're going to mount on your dash, your little conductor, your Gladiator, whatever Audison has. I don't remember what theirs is called. And ARC doesn't have one yet. It's 2026. Here we go. I feel that's the future in a lot of these vehicles because it's getting to the point where we're not going to be able to capture that factory signal and use it at all for anything between all of the noises that they're creating and all of the nonsensical things that they're doing. It's just not going to make sense to even attempt to deal with it. We're just going to have a standalone audio system in the car that maybe taps into like a mid-range so you can get like call and prompting. So DSPs will have to have like, hey, I need the left channel when signal comes on this, which a lot of them already do this, clicks over so that you can hear the prompt. They're just going to have to get faster. So they move fast. That none of them do fantastically because they almost like they need a buffer that will buffer the sound and play it out to a designated speaker. When that becomes a reality, then we'll be able to say, yeah, that DSP can deal with anything. But you're still not going to be able to control it with your steering wheel controls and fun stuff like that. You have to still turn up a knob. So we'll have to wait and see. But no, they are not as magical as we all want to think. How was MasterTech Expo? Any pictures to share? I did not take any pictures at all. Did you take any pictures? I didn't take one picture.
No.
I was busy the whole time. Plus, there was guys there that were taking pictures. I've just been, looking at it on Instagram like everybody else. Did you have a fantastic time?
No.
You had totally miserable time. It was the worst thing ever.
No, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was. It was a great time. You should have been there. I know. Should have been there. You would have loved it. When we were tearing things down, you weren't there to help. It was a shame. We got over it. That is true. Yep. No, she helped last year. So, yeah. But no, didn't take any pictures at all. Never even took the camera out of the bag. Oh, wait, I did. I took the camera out of the bag at Nalika's party. I still haven't looked at the pictures. So
that's right. I got to go and look because I took some pictures for the...
Yeah. And those probably will not be sharing anywhere. So Yeah, it happens. Okay.
I think the first pictures there were
some
fine.
of them will be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird. How many types of filters, crossovers, are there, and what are the differences between them? That's a really big question. There's obviously the two that are the most popular, which are Butterworth and Linkowitz Riley. You got Basil, you got Chevy Chev. There's another one that I can't think of right now. So there's a bunch of different kinds. And really what it has to do with where they all differ is phasing between the two speakers in line and what it does at the actual slope point, meaning where it goes down. So everyone does a little bit different at that point. And no, I don't know all the differences because it's a lot. So in our world, typically what we're concerned with is Butterworth and Linkowitz Riley. Those are the two most important that we deal with in the 12 volt genre space. And the two big differences are 12 dB Butterworth and 24 dB Linkowitz Riley. And we also will do a 6 dB Butterworth, and there's also a 12 dB Linkowitz Riley, depending on what you're trying. And in the middle of that somewhere, there's this 18 dB Butterworth or crossover that, it's and there again, it all has to do with the relationship between the speaker that is above it or below it, and what phasing issues you're going to have between those two speakers. So, and because of those problems, what you end up with and what that equates to is dips in the audio. So like if you look at a 12 dB Butterworth in a plain array, like a home speaker, more than likely, if it's a three-way set, the mid-range will be 180 degrees to the other. It means it'll be negative. All these will pop positive. This will pop negative, and it won't be an issue. And it's like that because there's roll-off between the tweeter and mid-range and the mid-range and mid-bass. You can get a null there or a dip. And so by changing the crossover, you can do away with that or changing the phasing on the crossover, which is, in this case, done by just changing the polarity. So in our world, what we like to look at is the 24 dB Linkowitz Riley, because when you do that, that negates that issue. Like that'll do away with it. So in most applications, that makes the most sense. Not always. A lot of the times, if you buy a set of three-way speakers and it has passive crossovers on it, sometimes it'll be 6 dB, and sometimes it'll be 18 dB, and other times it'll be 12, and the mid-range will be out of polarity. We still do that. So if you're popping things, and there again, that could change depending on whether, meaning it could matter or not matter depending on where the speakers are in the car. So the crossover, as simple as it seems, can cause a lot of issues. But the safe one is the 24 Linkowitz Riley. So that's kind of where we're at. Hey, Fernando, C5 Corvette, where do I find reverse for the backup camera? At the backup light? Thanks, question mark.
I don't know.
So it's a C5. So typically, you get it in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you usually get it in the back.
Yeah.
Metra has a harness for the C5, and sometimes we'll get lucky and the reverse will work, but a lot of the times we just grab it at the light in the back. Because when you're taking all that apart, the reverse lights are like right there. So, yeah. Next one. Wow, that was mean. They will never bring a Pacifica video unless you bring your moms to the shop. Dude, I like the Pacifica. It's a very comfy little van. Three-way set on a 200.4 key. Thoughts? Morello Maximo, Ultras, or Focal Performance Access? Thanks, guys. So the reality is no, I wouldn't recommend it. It's really not made for that. And the problem you run into is proper crossover points between the mid-range and tweeter. So when Kicker made the Snowman speakers, it was that little tune and a tweeter snowman shaped. People wanted to run those on the key. Those have big passive crossovers that are just for those two. and you would still need you would need those between those speakers in order for it to function properly. Those speakers you're asking about, the Morel Performance Access, they have a big passive crossover, is not biampable. Neither is the Morel. So you would need something that has individual crossovers for the dedicated speakers. So not a big crossover box. You would want the candy bar crossovers. You have a crossover for the tweeter, crossover for the mid-range. Like, for example, the the KS speakers from Kicker. They do have crossovers set up like that. Alpine has some crossovers set up like that. And then you could use it for it. I don't know how good it's going to work. Like, we would never sell it like that because it's really just a tweeter and a mid-range, or a 3.5 or a middler and a mid-range works the best as far as for the time alignment goes. But that would be, if you wanted to try it, you just have to make sure you have individual crossovers for the mid-range and tweeter. You don't need it for the mid-bass because it'll handle that. And if you're thinking, well, I'll just leave the mid-bass off of the big passive crossover, that won't work either, because it needs to see that ohm load in order for the crossover to function properly. So don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So Mercedes-Benz C300 with premium sound. Have you guys added a subwoofer to it? Depends on the year. We do a handful of those a year. Really just depends on the year. Some of the German cars, not that big of a deal. Some of the German cars, it is that big of a deal. It just depends on, really the only thing you'd ever run into those is whether it has some kind of fake noise generation, which you can easily test for with an IRCA2 or any form of electrical RTA, one that can measure the signal to see if there is any fake noise there. Outside of that, it's a pretty straightforward install. You tap the subwoofers. Now, in those cars, it is a high voltage subwoofer, usually somewhere between 20 and 40 volts of output. So if you hook up just a conventional high level to low level adapter without measuring the output voltage, you could do bad things. And some amplifiers will handle 20 volts to 40 volts. Some of them will only handle 10 volts. So you have to be very cautious, or you have to be very careful when hooking into those cars to make sure you do have the right interfacing as far as high level to low level. Any of the audio control stuff will work fine. As far as like a LC2i Pro, LC1, Epicenter Micro, Pro, all those will interface in and handle the voltage that will come out of that factory subwoofer. There again, like I said, the only hiccup could be some kind of fake noise. And if you'd like to know more about those products that I just mentioned from Audio Control, head over to audiocontrol.com and check them out. Big fan of using an Epicenter Micro Pro in that situation, because that'll just give you the best bass potential possible, allow you to adjust it on the fly and make it sound deep and fantastic. Thank you, Audio Control, for making an Epicenter. Hi, guys. What is the best option to replace the Chrysler Uconnect 8.4 with climate control? Will a floating 10.1 screen fit it? Funny you should ask. Yes. So Kenwood and JVC, both with iData, make the direct replacement 10.1 float screen that is designed to fit right into that and work your air conditioners and do all that. It has the appropriate disconnected brain box from the radio, which is what you need because there's no room behind the radio for all of these things to fit. But the 10.1-inch float from JVC and or Kenwood will go right in there with that iData kit. So I would go over to either iData or Kenwood or JVC, find one of those pieces. It'll go directly in there and be fantastic. Right? Yeah, so cool. You doing okay over there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You good? Okay. 2021 Jeep Compass, bass audio. Okay. Want to keep factory screen for now since Kenwood doesn't offer a direct fit replacement at the moment. Can't find a T-harness. What do I need to do? So the Compass is probably that weird Chrysler product that doesn't offer anything per se, because there are a couple weird Chryslers out there, and I don't mean that badly. It's just kind of like what happens. Let's see here. Let's go to iData. and we will find out. Let's flip over to this, and we will type in, it is a 2021 Compass. So that's going to be Jeep 2021. And then we'll say Compass, and we'll say Amplifier Solutions. Choose trim to continue without amplifier. Add an amplifier. And there we go. Those are the two solutions that are available for you. So what this is telling me is that you don't need to do anything fantastic. Like, you can just either go AR, DSR1. If you go AR, you can go right into any ARC audio product. You can go into a Blackbird. It'll talk to the radio. It'll convert the radio over to a preamp so that you can then keep the factory radios for as long as you want, because the radio will think it's a premium audio amplifier and give you all the amazing stuff you need. They're also going to have the T-harnesses to go behind the radio to interface into it. So if I was talking to you in this one, I would probably sell you something like an AR or a DSR1, depending on what other equipment you want to go with. So you have a cool conductor there as your thing. So if you wanted to go Helix, I would probably sell you a DSR1 to get us our preamp section so we could just bypass DSP and the DSR1 and go right into a Helix. Or if you wanted to try something new and sexy, you could go right into an ARC audio amplifier. So I'd probably just go AR into a Blackbird and be done with it. Those are the options I would look into. And they would have the corresponding T-harness for that. Plan to order a ferrule crimper and ferrules from the tool drawer. Links. Should I go for hex or square or the crimper? So the hex, so if you want to go the biggest possible, like if you're going to do 8 gauge, the square will do 8 gauge. The hex will not do 8 gauge. So depending on what you're planning on crimping as far as ferrules go, if you want the biggest hole and the biggest thing you're going to do is an 8 gauge, then go for the square. That works the best. If you're going to do everything else and like, the biggest I'm going to go is like a 12 gauge, well, then the hex would work fine. So there's that. Just click on that one. If I fold down the rear seat in my SUV, is that a solid enough surface for downward firing subwoofer box? I prefer to have the sub right behind the driver's seat versus sitting way back in the cargo area. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, we do it, when we put a down firing. One of the reasons why we go to the down firing box in a lot of these vehicles is so that, yes, they can fold down the seats, slide the subwoofer all the way forward, and enjoy life. So, yeah, it'll be fine. I don't know what Master Tech was like for you guys with letting the public in, but I absolutely loved it. This is Swizzle Sticks. For us, it was fine. We had a great time. Obviously, we're outside where a lot of you guys came to. We actually saw you there. I saw you for that brief moment where you said hi to me. You knew I was busy, so thank you for at least coming and saying, hey. No, I think it was good. Gave away some free stuff. It was real easy to tell the difference between the consumer people or show people versus everyone else, because we all had badges. You guys didn't. So it was easy enough to work through that. Nothing got stolen, so that was good.
They didn't have badges?
They didn't have badges. No. They were the guys walking around with no badges. So it was really easy to tell who they were and who they weren't.
Oh,
so,
okay.
For us, I didn't care. Everyone got to play cornhole. So, the only difference was those guys coming in actually knew how to play cornhole. So
the outsiders?
Yeah, the outsiders knew how to play cornhole. 12-volt guys had no freaking clue.
Right.
But yeah, anyways. But no, it was good. I think we're probably doing it again next year. So, hi, Dean and Fernando.
Hello.
I have two seat shakers, right? Yeah, 2 seat shakers.
Bass shakers.
And you can only feel a song with heavy bass. Will adding an epicenter help? They have their own amp. If I run a full Alpine build minus the seat shakers. Oh, I run a full Alpine build minus seats. Believe it or not, Alpine used to make seat shakers. They were made for Alpine by Aura. They were the Aura bass shakers. Alpine used to sell those under their years ago. So the reality is the only way these things work is if they're mounted on metal that is somewhat movable. The more rigid you make them, the less bass they're going to produce, because it's just the motor structure of a woofer that is causing something to move. Okay. And so if they're mounted on the most rigid part of the car, they're not going to create bass because they can't move the car. So if you put more power to them, that might not necessarily help either, because they can't handle the power, if that makes sense. It's just like a normal speaker motor structure. So you may want to think about moving them to some other part of the vehicle that has a bigger area for them to actually cause cavitation. That might actually work better. Or bolting them to something that would allow them to move more freely, like the bottom of a seat, like put it up instead of down onto the metal, put it into the seat. I don't think adding more power to it is going to help. Now, adding an epicenter, which is what you're asking, I don't know. I mean, there again, technically, yeah. I mean, because it's adding harmonics. So in a subwoofer, it's basically the ass end of a subwoofer. So I don't see why it wouldn't move more. So that would be interesting. That'd be a lot of money to spend to see if it works. But hey, go for it and let us know. I mean, yeah. 2018 Silverado would have to make A-pillar mods more curious on wiring if it would be worth it. So Stereo Steve's up in Utah is making new grills for the corners of the dash to allow you to do a 3-way set in the front without having to make A-pillars. So if you're thinking about adding that, then fantastic. You might want to check his out instead of building A-pillars, unless you just want to do A-pillars. Stereo Steve's. As far as wiring goes, typically what we do in a situation where it's a 2-way set, or most 3-way sets don't actually have 3 pairs of wires. They just have 2 pairs of wires, and there's the mid-range and the tweeter joined through one. So you're going to have to run a new set of wires. So you'll just have to add a set. So typically what we'll do is, depending on wherever all of the speakers plug in, so if we're doing a T-harness at the amplifier or a T-harness at the radio, we'll run our new wires over to that same T-harness. So we just have a point of contact where all of the speakers connect. So we'll add a new plug, usually a 4-pin plug. We'll run the wires out to the corners. And then when I bring my wiring up to that point, we'll plug in the factory amp. We'll plug into the 4-pin for the tweeters, and you're all good. But yeah.
Sounds simple. All right, Giovanni.
Hey. What about the clean wire competition? How did Chris Vera do? Chris Vera did fantastic. It was very hot. It was very hot out there, as it always is, but this was exceptionally hot this year, which was kind of bad. We had fans this year, which was really nice. We also had a cooler full of cold drinks for the guys, which was also very nice. We put Vera down on the end next to MTX when he competed, because we had the tent pulled up and the fan was blowing fresh air on him. So he did really well as far as doing that. On a whole, Clean Wire Challenge this year went off fantastic. Like, it was great. Every guy that we had compete, I thought did a wonderful job. They were all winners in my book. I know that sounds like, hey, everyone, no, but there can only be one, Highlander. He did a great job, though. Like, his amp rack looked really cool, but everyone's amp rack looked really good. This was definitely some very tough competition, because they all did fantastic. And then you had Junior, who went off the rails, which is exactly what I need. I needed that one guy to just go sideways, and I knew it would be Junior. So that was cool. But no, it was tough competition. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. Because they all looked fantastic. So this year was definitely one of the best years we've had for understanding the assignment and executing it at a very high level. So he did great. Now, the thing is when it comes to who did what and what place everyone takes, I look at whoever the winner is, and I don't care past that, because it doesn't matter. There's the winner, and there's everyone else that was beneath that. So, That's all I look at, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Hang on. Let me do this before you do that. This next segment is brought to you by the fine folks at Focal. Oh, so did you know that the slate fibers now have an 8-inch and a 2.5-inch mid-range?
No, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah. So now in the past, you had the slate fiber, which you could do a 6-inch tweed or a 6-inch coaxial, and that was it.
Yeah.
They've now made it a complete line with a 6-inch mid base. I'm sorry, with an 8-inch mid base.
Wow.
And a 2.5-inch middler / mid range. And then they went so far, the audacity is to add an 8-inch subwoofer with a grill attached to it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So now you have a complete slate fiber that you can put into your car, from, big luscious mid base all the way up to the fantastic tweeter they had.
That is fantastic.
That is fantastic. Pretty excited. If you'd like to know more about those, make sure to head over to focal-america.com and check them out. I have a Kenwood X705.
You too.
I have a JVC.
No, but you have a Kenwood.
But it's sitting in the box, so it's not in the car. I can't seem to completely turn off speaker size feature. Feature seems to change how the speakers sound. Will this adversely affect how I tune Epicenter Concert DSP? I mean, it has off. I don't really. So it should be off. Here's the one thing you can do in a Kenwood. So a lot of the times, someone will bring us a radio that has already been in a car for a while, and now they're adding something else, and we're like, I don't know what they've done. So they have a reset or a restore function in the settings menu of the Kenwood. Anytime we get a Kenwood in that we're going to be adding something to, we always go to the restore feature and we press it and we let the radio reboot. What that's going to do is that's going to put everything back to factory. Now, a Kenwood basically comes with everything off, except for there's one Kenwood feature that's on in the little add-ons, but everything else is off. Speaker selector, speaker size, everything is zeroed. You may want to try that and just start over and see if that does it for you. Because this is nothing we ever run into. Like, we've never had like, oh my gosh, this totally sucks. So yeah, give that a go. Okay. Yeah? Good? Drag this down here. Have you guys built a system in a small car with space constraints using a 3-way that was good enough without a sub? Where the woofers could be an 8-inch that plays a nice amount of sub mid bass. So the reality is it's got nothing to do with how good the speaker are or how small the vehicle is. When it comes to the speaker manufacturer designing the speaker, they all design them with the intent that you're going to add a subwoofer. Okay, that's just what they do. There's no way around it. They're not subwoofers. They're mid bass at best. So have we ever successfully done this and made it think like there's a subwoofer? No, not at all. Have we ever done it to where it was like okay enough to like get going? Yeah, we've done a Porsche in the past. I did a Porsche with a K2 3-way set that they didn't have the factory sub in the floor or on the back deck, and that sounded okay. It's definitely not. You definitely know there's no subwoofer, but it was okay. It was like Bluetooth bass. Like, oh, that kind of sounds like bass, but it's not. The other vehicle we ran into was like a Mazda Miata, where we put the 7-inch Kenwoods in, and that gave us a healthy dose of mid bass, and it sounded like a really nice set of bookshelf speakers, where you just wish you had a subwoofer, but you just don't have room for them, so you kind of move past that. So yeah, there's nothing that replaces a subwoofer. There's just like, it's not too bad. Now, one of the things that like an Arc Audio DSP has is Super Bass. And Super Bass is the same basic application that JBL uses, which is called Wave. And Wave is what makes your little Bluetooth speakers sound like they have bass coming from those really small drivers. Super Bass is designed to give you a very similar effect with your mid bass when using a ARC processor. We use it a lot of the times when we're just doing a single sub, and we want, and the doors are built for it, because that's the key. You do have to sound treat the out of it. We'll turn on super bass and get a little bit more impact out of those front doors than we normally would from that feature. It's not used, turn the crossover down. No, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. This actually adds harmonics to those to make them sound bigger than what they are. It's really impressive what it can do, but that's done through trickery, just like, go teamwork.
Wow, Kevin.
So that is done through some trickery, through processing, through things like the Arc Audio DSP and stuff like that. So that's more of what you need as opposed to speakers. You need a processor that can create, because what makes those JBL little Bluetooth speakers sound good isn't the speakers. The speakers suck. We know this. We know that they suck. But it's their processing that they put into them that makes them magical. So there's that. Hi guys, do you think installing an XR 901.5 under the passenger seat of a 2019 Highlander would be an issue on the car in the Northeast? Would I need to remove vent under seat for winter? No. Let me explain why I say no. This is a funny one that we get, obviously, because we're known for mounting our amplifiers underneath the seat. We build all these kind of amp racks. So the amplifier is made out of what? What is the heatsink of the amplifier made out of, Fernando?
Plastic.
Made out of aluminum.
Oh.
Close enough. Okay. Now, we all know that in the wintertime in the Northeast, what does it get? Cold. Really cold. It gets so cold, it's ridiculously cold. All right. So you have an amplifier now that if your car is 32 degrees, chances are good your amplifier is right around 32 degrees, possibly colder. Now, there is an operating temperature for an amplifier. Believe it or not. Some amplifiers don't work so well in the cold or when they are cold. So now if the amplifier is underneath the seat and you have the heater on, what's it going to do? It's going to heat the amplifier back up to an operating temperature. It's never going to get to be 104 underneath your seat as much as you want it to. It's just maybe going to get into the 70s, which is great because now the amplifier, along with the heat it's going to generate, is going to actually get to the point to where it can function properly. The same is true when you do it here down in the southeast. When it's 100 million degrees outside and you have your air conditioner blowing a little bit of air on the amplifier, it's going to cool it down enough because they're just like it's too cold to work. It can get too hot to work. So no, actually putting it underneath the seat, in my mind, in our experience, has been perfect because when it's too cold out, it'll get the amplifier up to working temperature faster than it being frozen in the back somewhere, or vice versa. So yeah, don't even worry about it. Consider yourself the smartest guy in the room for doing it. Two-way versus three-way component front stage. I have a Flax Evo 3-way, but my new Explorer only has two-way. I really want to mount two-way without having pillars made. Running active Audison 8.14. Okay. The Flax Evo 3-way, but my new Explorer only has two-way. Really want to mount two-way without having a pillar. So you really want to, so you only have so the Explorer only has a two-way. You want to add a three-way. So the Explorer, what you might want to look into instead of having to make pillars is whether they make a pillar from the factory, because a lot of the Explorers we've seen, there's a three-way set in them from the factory. Like the premium audio one, there's a three-way set in. So you might be able to just buy the factory A pillars, put them in and be done. So you won't have to make nothing. It'll just look factory. So there's that. The other option is if you want a three-way set, some of these new manufacturers like Rockford with the punch and Audio Control with the altitude, they make a very small tweeter now. Very small tweeter that you can put in some very obscure places without like drilling big holes or drilling holes at all. Like you could take a 2-inch and a tweeter and almost mount it into that factory location, make a coaxial out of it. So there are options out there that are available to do things like that on, but not in a Flax. A Flax is really big, and if that's what you're looking at, then maybe check to see if they make the factory A pillar for it. So yeah, pretty excited. 2019 Altima with Bose. Just looking to add a sub amp. What you recommending? So there again, 2019 with Bose, Nissan. That's a fun one because depending on what Nissan did, I haven't looked at, like, we don't get a lot of Altimas in here, but it's 2019, so it is old enough. That might have variable voltage going into the Bose amplifier. Might not. However, whether it does or not, what do we put in there? So it's a sedan, which means it's going to have some kind of high-pass filtering built onto it, like it does. Now, if it has a factory subwoofer, that makes things easy because we can just tap into the subwoofer. It is going to be a higher voltage output, so you're going to want to look at something like that. Depending on how much sub you want to do, I would look personally at a Kicker 500.1 key. That's where I would start. Because I know I can put 40 volts into it if it's got a Bose amp and it's super hot output, or if I can go variable voltage out of before the factory amplifier. Key 501 would give me 500 watts. If I'm just looking to put a sub, not sub, that would allow me to add, up 12, 210s to 112 in the back of the car and get a decent amount of bass out of it. Now, if I wanted to go super silly, then I'd probably look at doing like a key lock and do whatever big amplifier I want to do and however many subs I want to have. But either way, it should be a pretty straightforward install.
What about the downfire L7T with the amplified system?
I would just because I'm integrating into the factory system, I'd still do a key 500.1. Just because that's going to give me all the equalization crap that I want to fix that factory signal. So, that's just me. Hold on, what does it say? Okay, so this is a funny one. Which companies make bi-ampable 6x9s? Believe it or not, most speakers are bi-ampable. All you need to do is look at the back of the speaker at the magnet. If you see, sometimes they'll come out of the top, meaning they'll come through the pole piece on the magnet, and you'll see these two wires that are underneath the sticker, and they solder onto where the terminals are. As long as you see those two wires that are coming out of there and soldering onto that, you can cut those, and it's now a bi-amped speaker because you can run an amplifier to those and an amplifier to this. So all you need to look for is if you can get to the two wires for the tweeter or the array on top. So they're not going to market them as bi-ampable because technically they are, but they're not, because you'd actually have to know what you're doing. But as long as you see those two wires coming out from somewhere, cut them, attach, go. Done deal. You got a bi-ampable set. So cool. Will Rockford Fosgate Power T750.1 fit under passenger seat of a C5 Corvette? I'm going to go with no. I don't think anything fits underneath that seat. No. There's no room.
Especially for seats. The motor?
Yeah. Most of the time they go into the back. Like, they go in the back corners. They just go in there. They'll fit there fine. The amp gets hot, though.
What about on their...
they always go in the back.
On the footwell, passenger side.
If it's Bose, if it's not Bose, there's room. I don't know if that would fit, but either way, those things get hot. So you just have to keep that in mind. I need to check out the Metro. Prometheus. It's not Prometheus. It's just Procilium. God, what a dumb name. Go Metro, go. It happens. It's just a dumb name. Hello, Kicker KS 6x9s or Audio Control Epic 6x9s, both coaxials. Which is your favorite? Both are two-way. Two totally different speakers. The Kicker is a conventional speaker that is made to do conventional sound. The Epic is a loudspeaker. Okay, so it's a different animal altogether. If you wanted to compare two speakers in that similar context, you'd compare the KS to the Altitude. Those would be a similar platform. Okay, those would be two speakers that are similar in ideas, performance, power handling, what they're made to do, how they're made to sound. That's what I would compare those to. For me, Mary Lou, I was so happy that they opened Master Tech to the public. I was looking forward to meeting you. I saw a couple industry ladies there, but no one stands out like you.
Look at that.
That's so tad creepy. Very nice, tad creepy. Just gonna go with that. Yeah, she didn't go this year. I know. Yeah, she probably would have disappeared though, because she likes to do that. She's standing there 1 minute and then she just like, gone. Just because audio is fun for life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Okay, let's just leave that one off. Hey, I have a question. I thought he was talking about me personally, but I mean, it was okay. Hey, I have a question. 21 Honda Accord N. I just got a DD M5K, so I'm guessing that's a big amp. How would I go by doing my grounds in the trunk? Because I'm going to need 3 runs. And I also have a second battery. I ran 3 0-gauge powers too. All right, so in a Honda, the factory system has some terrible ground. There's no, it's like an 8-gauge that comes off of the battery to the frame. The battery is also the smallest possible battery ever. So upgrading the grounds, highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. So there again, it's a Honda. So just increase the grounds coming off of the battery to the car, to the block. This is then one where you want to add multiple grounds. The big 3 is probably a great, or big 4, whatever you want to call it. It's totally worth it. So definitely run some 0-gauge grounds underneath the hood in a Honda. You're going to need it. Anytime we upgrade a Honda past it doesn't even have a 4-gauge. So we're typically going to be running a 4-gauge in it. So if we do multiple amp systems in a Honda, it's always getting some kind of a power upgrade for sure. And if you're doing something like a 5K, you're going to need a lot of grounding. So especially if you're going to be running 3 0-gauge back, that means that you have to have the equivalent of grounding underneath the hood. Okay, because the way DC works is it's not magic. The ground is not the car. So if you're running 3 0-gauge, you have to have a ground reference the same exact size, or you might as well not ran 3 powers that size because it won't matter. It's a circle, okay? And it's only as strong as its weakest link. So if you have all this going this way and then you ground it to the frame of the car, and the frame of the car then comes forward and goes to the battery, and you have a really small fusible link at this point, doesn't matter what you ran for power, the ground isn't going to work. That's going to be your biggest problem. So you really need, now length is your favor, is in your favor. So it's like, do I run 3 0-gauge grounds? No, you just keep the grounds short and you'll be able to get that current through those points because you have the frame of the car, which still kind of sucks. Because depending on how Honda puts the, I would ground it as far forward as possible. Like be careful putting it in the trunk because cars aren't put together very well. So, I mean, if you want to be perfect, run 3 0-gauge grounds forward to the front of the car. That would also solve any issues.
I don't think it's
so expensive and almost impossible to do. But that's what I'm saying, though. Your ground is just as important as the power.
Yeah.
So improve it as much as you can.
Sure.
And also, you can have your digital multimeter there, and you can test what is your continuity between where you're choosing to ground and the battery to see if it is, in fact, a good ground. Maybe move it around, get you closer into the vehicle. You might find that you have better ground points there. Also, look to see where the factory ground points are in the car. Don't just go, hey, that's a nice piece of steel. I'm going to ground it right there. No, pull the carpet out, pull the panels off, and see where the factory ground point is, because that's usually the best ground point in the car. Go to where they are. Even if you have to use a little bit longer wire, it's okay, because that's the better ground point. That's why they chose it.
Yep.
Don't forget to reground the alternator. Yes. ShamWow. I remember that. That was funny. What's up, Ernie?
What up, man?
The ground is lava. Oh, yeah. Totally. Don't get burnt. In the 2021 Ford Explorer non-amplified, do you know if the harness to hook up a 4-channel without cutting wires. Yeah, PAC makes that harness. So PAC makes the T-harness for 2021, no problem. Okay. The hard part on that car is the radio is probably in the trunk. Okay, so the brain, back passenger side of the vehicle. Like we did an Explorer, we have a whole video series on one of those. We actually ended up having to take the doors off the car so that we could run our wiring through it, through the doors. Totally sucked. So yeah, it's a fun one for sure.
All right. Last one.
Last question?
Yes, sir.
I was gonna say we just hit it. Theory question: coaxials versus components, but being tuned through DSP, would there be that big of a difference? Would it not sound better coaxial since both sound sources are together? No, it wouldn't. The easiest thing would be think of if you just turn around in a car that has coaxials in the doors. If you just spun the seat around and sat facing that way, does it sound better? No, it doesn't. It doesn't sound better at all. When you go components, what you're doing is you're increasing the width of the beam of sound that is coming from that plane. So, if you have them up high in the dash, that's how you get the sound up high in the dash. If they're down low in the door, there's nothing you can do for that. Like you can't make the sound. You could try really hard through equalization by, increasing, but it still doesn't work the same. The component is just better. It's just better. And like you could buy two of the cheapest speakers, $59 set of components, $59 set of coaxials, put a tweeter on the door, put a mid bass here, or put the coaxials in, and every time I guarantee you the component set will outperform it, and you'll be like, oh no, this is way better.
And for the guy they're asking for the T harness, here we go.
There you go. LPH FD31. And make sure you get the LPH EXT17, which is the extension kit for it, so that you can run it wherever you want in the car. Makes everything so fantastic. And that, my friends, is the show. Fantastical. We'll be back Monday, of course. But for now, go forth, be merry. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourselves. I got nothing else. It's been a long week for us. We're kind of happy to get a day off. I'd really like to do nothing tomorrow, but I got a full docket, so we'll just go with that. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you back here Monday.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.